Here we go, Leafers. So let's see what questions you sent us over on socials and have a bit of fun. Andy, oh dear me, mate. I'll tell you what I would do if we was nailed on and knew where we were and giving you Asiata for a month, got you where you needed to be. I'd 100% back you with it, mate. Salary cap obviously is restrictive in somewhat. The little bit of a buffer that we had we used on Brad Dwyer, so we're pretty much capped up. Chesy's active in recruiting for next year and squad retention of those that are coming up that we want to retain before 1st of May deadline. So yeah, he's very busy. Obviously we've got an injury there to Gaz O'Brien, fullback, which is a key area, and it's a bit disruptive obviously having our 6 put there, so that's something that we've been ongoing with. It was widely spoke about. Sailor, who's re-signed where he is, and David Armstrong, which has been ongoing, but you'll have just seen, I think this morning Pongo's got a long-term injury, so that probably scuppers any chance of that one happening. But yeah, we're always active and looking to build and improve on what we've got. I think we probably surpassed it, mate, because we won the Challenge Cup in year 1. But no, we're firmly on track on that. Hopefully there should be some exciting news in the next few weeks, which will firmly show that we're definitely on track for that. At the moment, we sit obviously a little bit looking a little bit vulnerable, but you know, the table is the table. You know, the concerns aren't with Adrian or what he's doing or how we're doing it, and you know, I'm confident that he'll stay with us, and we'll keep working hard with him, and the players will keep buying into him, and there'll be more success coming as soon as possible. That went in on Friday, which was the deadline. There's a presentation that we've now been invited to do, which is the final stage of the application. That'll be attended to by Kieran Pertle, who's done a fantastic job with the application. We're extremely confident, I think it's fair to say, because from the last application we followed rigorously everything that the RFL asked of us. It actually makes sense to me now why our application last time, as good as it was, wasn't really bought into, because it probably looked like we was going from 0 to 100 in no time at all, whereas where we sit now with the thousands of people that we've put through the club and the great work that Kieran's done with the 15s and 16s development squads, we've obviously got our reserves now. We're in a far closer place to running an elite academy than what it appeared, so we've done everything asked of us, and we're confident next Friday that Kieran's presentation with Neil and Chris Chester as head of rugby will be what the RFL want to see, and news will follow positively from that. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a difficult situation, is that, and we want to make the stadium as friendly and accessible to as many people as possible. Appreciate the music and the speakers there would make that difficult. We have the A team as part of our club, which is to do with autism, and we've been very you know, vocal and active in that regard in doing our Magic Weekend kit and raising money for that. We've got players in Josh Charnley who's got a son who's got autism, and he's open about that as well. So any measures that Anna can bring in or recommend to us and things that we can do, we would be welcoming hearing about those and looking at how we can make it as best as we possibly can as an experience for people with autism, and make the stadium more friendly to that, whilst at the same time not detracting from what we have built, which has been hugely successful in growing the fan base to the 8,000 plus average that we've seen so far this season. Stripes are not as good as spots. Although I did once Google who would win a fight between a tiger and a leopard, and I can tell you it's a tiger. Yeah, they're doing it tough. I mean, there's some good people there. Mark Grattan's been there a long time. He's a good guy. People are critical of them because the stadium and the facilities, obviously, on the wrong side of the modern sort of IMG area. So they've got to do things tough in that regard. I guess they've probably rebuilt to a point a little bit like we had to do in 2018, and they're backing some youngsters. They've got Craig Lingard, who's a young coach who was successful with Batley, and they're obviously giving him some time with it. It was probably a lift for them to get a win against Salford. I think Salford probably put a lot into our game, almost like a team after playing in a final. Which is no surprise because that's something that Rolls does. He gets his team up against the lead team, understandably. So it's nice to see them get that win. It's very tight down there with ourselves and Hull, and then London, who are fighting hard for one as well. But we won't be underestimating them, let me tell you that much, when they come here, because they've shown a lot of fight. I think the game against Wigan, I didn't see all of it, but certainly in the first half that I did see. I thought they showed a lot of fight and determination, so they're a team that's got a purpose, and you've always got to be careful of that. The interesting thing on that is that you can only use an official RFL clause bank, so if the clause doesn't exist in there, there's not much chance of going in or being successful. We've got an issue with one at the moment, actually, where an agent wanted to be able to make a decision irrespective of what the player was saying, which clearly wasn't acceptable. The weirdest one wasn't one I was asked to do, but I found out it was in a contract, and that was that if the head coach left, the player was allowed to leave as well, which was widely reported at the time, so it's not speaking out of turn, and that was Kes Ryan Briley when Rolls left, but you can see how closely he's followed him in his career, going to Toronto, etc., and having his best rugby at the moment under him at Salford. So that was probably the kind of strangest one, and it isn't one I would have agreed to, but it was agreed to at the time. On the first part, yeah, I just think it's completely wrong that you put a team into a competition that it just cannot remain in, irrespective of how well it does. That just isn't sport, and goes against everything in competition integrity. I think they're doing a gallant job of fighting on, irrespective, and battling away for each other, and they should be commended for that. And I've vocally said I desperately hope that they get a win, because I just think we need to relook at this. I'm all for IMG driving standards and improving things in as many ways as we can, but in my book, if a team finishes bottom, doesn't finish bottom, sorry, it can't be relegated. It goes against the whole thing on sport, and if a team doesn't win either the grand final or the league, whichever you decide it is, then it shouldn't be promoted. So there's issues with promotion and relegation. I know all about them, but there's certainly issues with this, and I'm not comfortable with it. As to the sport having to have a team in the south, I've never been a believer of that, just like I'm not a believer of having to have teams in France. I don't think the geographical nature really makes that much difference, especially in the modern era with all the technology and social media. You can have fans from all over the world, especially with the Super League Plus platform now, where you can watch it all over the world. And we would look to expose our brand into London, into America, into South Africa, into PNG, as far as we can. Is having a team from your capital country a benefit? It looks that way, doesn't it, to other sports outside, that you've got the word London as your capital city of your country. So I can see some argument in and amongst that. Personally, they've contributed a lot to the game. There's some players in the game that have come through the systems. We have one that I watched in our reserves on Saturday against Warrington. So they've contributed positively, and I'd like to see that continue, and I'd like to see it grow. And I think I'd rather have 100 David Hugheses in our game, because he's a very affluent man who's invested a lot of time and money and commitment into London. So I'd like to see a strong London in Super League. Um, there's more leopard print than there isn't, and I reckon if you combine that with the missuses, we could definitely make a full wardrobe of leopard print, even footwear. So I suppose I've got every item of clothing that you would need to wear. I could have in leopard print, from shoes, socks, undies, pants, t-shirt, shirt, coat, hat, sunglasses, bag. Yeah, I've got that. 1,000,000% agree with you. 1,000,000%, and I'm pretty certain you'll see that from next year. I think the intention was to have it this year with every game going on Sky and being able to have a video ref at every game. I think there was some concerns around the number of cameras and angles to be able to fully look at things from all angles of the pitch, because with a captain's call it can be anywhere on the field. It's not necessarily the try areas that the cameras focus on. For me, I would have still done it anyway, and if the footage is inconclusive that you can see, then you stick with the on-field call. Simple as that. I think it's massively important to the referees, because I think it helps the referees, because they're not doing things wrong on purpose. They make mistakes like all of us. They give what they see. They think they've seen what they've seen. They can't always see what the players might have seen from where they are, and the touch, he might have missed it because he's trying to gain up with a player that can run 100 metres in 11 seconds, and we can't have touch judges that can do that. So they're never always going to be able to be perfect. So I think it helps them become perfect. And the beauty of it is you can use that 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a game if you keep getting it right and the refs are getting things wrong. So I don't see any disadvantage to it. We would have certainly benefited from it against Warrington. They might argue that there was times in the game where they would have benefited, but I think certainly the try that won them the game, as it were, it's clear to see captain's call would have maybe got a different outcome. And I know, having seen Alan Coleman this morning, the Widnes game with Featherstone, they would have called captain's call on that last try for obstruction, or the one before the one after the Uta. So I think it's a massive addition. I also think, just to chuck in there as well, what would also help the referees is the referee can only ever give a yellow card, a little bit like they do in Union, and then it's reviewed during that 10 minutes by the video ref and team, and then they can decide, actually, that's nailed on a red. And then we don't make the mistake of interpreting, seriously affecting what could be the outcome of a game by a player missing for all of it. The worst case scenario is you've given a yellow, you change it to a red, and if it should have been a yellow, you've got it right. Could have done me some notice on that one. They say regret the things you do and not the things that you don't do. So it's tough, because I tend to do everything for the right reasons and what my gut feeling is. So I'm not somebody who really has regrets per se. I certainly haven't got everything right. That's for sure. There's things I've probably said or maybe done on social media that's not maybe been the smartest. If I had to nail it and isolate it to one thing, I'd probably rather have two, one off field and one on field. So when we played Wakefield back in 2017, when Dukesy was the coach, we'd been going okay, and I put out on social media, if anybody show me this ball touch the line, I'll give you 10k, because it didn't, and it cost us the game. And I just don't think it put us in a good light with the RFL, with referees as a whole, and we just seemed to take a downward spiral and couldn't buy a win after that. Then I think off the field, I think I made a mistake in voting in favour of breaking away from the RFL when we was in Super League, knowing that we was coming straight back into the Championship, and I feel that we felt a bit of a wrath off the back of that with the Super League team in the Championship and not making the playoffs, and I'm not so sure that what materialised from that, having gone full circle and then voted as going back to joining ventures as RL Commercial, I'm not sure what was gained during that period when we weren't. It just kind of duplicated the centre and duplicated a lot of costs. So yeah, those are probably the biggest things I would have done differently if I could wind back the clock. If we can make the playoffs, I genuinely think that we could have a chance. When you've got players like John and Edwin and Tom Amon, Robbie been out, Ricky missed a game, Lockie even missed a game. But I think the ones that are out there that bit longer, like Edwin and John and Tom, that energy in their legs that they will still have at the back end of the season. Whereas last season we broke down in those areas and only won 2 games, I think, after winning the Challenge Cup. This time we're doing it tough, but there's no alarm bells because we're close in these games. Against the top sides, we've not played any of the sides around us where we find ourselves, apart from Hull away, which obviously we performed well in and got a good result. So there's no panic, there's no alarm bells. I'm still saying that the bottom team should get relegated, and we're down there only 2 points above that team, surrounded by a couple of others on the same points. So I'm confident that the wins will come, and I think if we can get into that 6th place with everybody fit and fresh, we can, anything can happen from there. I do believe that. Yeah, it does, and it's a good thing. We've done camps in the past, and we'll do them again this year in the summer holiday. We also do taster sessions, and we've also done the 15s and 16s, which we've done as open book, and the same for our reserves. We let anybody come and trial for that, and we've had over 1,000 players that we've put through during that period, which Kieran Purtle's done a great job with. So yeah, the camps will be a big activity. Tying into the academy aspect, hopefully that comes forward. So we've got a lot of eyes and ears on the ground in and around the 14s, and even the 13s at the moment. Jukesy's lad plays at that level, mine plays at 14s. So we're seeing a lot of the players in and around that, and then once we can bring those in and have those training with us and experiencing the game, and some open trials around that age with a view to scholarships for 15s and 16s. So yeah, watch your space for more camps this year, and come along and enjoy some time with the Leopards. Yeah, I didn't know about that until yesterday, bizarrely enough. Somebody sent me a picture of it who'd been there. I've never seen a snow leopard. Looked pretty cute. And despite all my best endeavours over in South Africa, I very rarely see an actual leopard because they're so scarce. So I did actually put it on my to-do list to get to Chester Zoo. There's probably a bit of marketing in that, I think you've got a good point there. Maybe get the players down there and have a look into that, and how we can sort of ping on the back of it and maybe do something charity-based relationship, because obviously the zoo is a charitable status. We did try and do something with Knowles Safari Park early in the piece on the rebrand, but it didn't quite gain its legs. But best wishes for the marriage. What a great place to do it as well. Oh, it definitely makes you more hungry for success. Anything you have in life, they say it's like a drug, don't they? If you have something that you really enjoy, you want more and more of it, and it takes more and more to give you the buzz, as it were. I look back on that with nothing but absolute pride and joy of the players and the coaches and the staff and the fans. The whole memory from start to finish was absolutely brilliant. But I went through so many emotions, from going to the cenotaph the day before, being in the House of Commons, going on Wembley with nobody in there, and seeing the white feather there, and just the whole thing was very, very, emotional, and there was kind of a real aura connected to it. Right down to walking past the ribbons being put on the cup, believing we'd won it, to come down and walk out into the tunnel, absolutely shocked to see that actually OKR had scored, and then the whole emotions of those few minutes, and the pile-on and the big party afterwards, and the buzz journey back. And then probably the best and most memorable experience of it all was what the fans gave us, courtesy of Wigan Council, with that buzz tour, and all finishing at the Town Hall Square was the most memorable part of it. And I'm desperate to do it again. We had hoped that would be something we could have made a final to this year. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be, and OKR, who narrowly lost out last time, get a chance to go one further, and I wish them luck, because it'd be nice to see a new name on the trophy, or even if that's Huddersfield, I'd love to see Ken Davey get that experience that I got as well for what he's done and puts into the sport. Best team in the comp, if not the best club in the comp, certainly in the top 2-3. I think they set standards that others need to follow. I think they've got an owner there that I haven't met, who I'm looking forward to meet, but he's clearly stamping his authority on what he wants to do, building on what Ian Lenigan did, which was a fantastic job there at the club as well. It was great to see him go out with the success that he did, because I think he deserves that. And it's great to see Mike Danson doing what he's doing, giving somebody like Bevan French a 4-year deal, which has obviously come at a significant cost to keep him away from going back to the NRL is a big, bold statement. And it's important that Super League have stars like that light up the stage and can just turn something on, and a piece of brilliance. They've got a fantastic academy, and you see here, I only watched it on TV because I was away, but if one player falls out, they just put another one in, and then if that one falls out, they've got another one behind that. If you look at, like, just in the back row, that junior December who jumps in. I remember John Duffy telling me about him early last year, and we looked at getting him here on loan, and they've just got an absolute conveyor belt of him. Young Farriman who got a start, who's come through at minors. I think he's only 17, might have just turned 18 there on a full-time contract, probably the brightest talent that's been in this town at the moment. So there's more coming through, and they're quick to get onto them, and this is why it's important we can get an academy. So Wigan as a club is a club I aspire this club to be, and if we can get close to what they are, I'll be very, very happy, man. In one go. Oh dear me. Well, they say I've got a big mouth, so I might try that one. You should have brought some digestives. We could have had a go at that, Terry. If I had to say, I would go either Tom Amon or John Asiata, just based on the feedback I got when they went to our box at Old Trafford. And my mate Gaz and that, they'd had a brunch at George's beforehand, so they bring out the 8 meals onto the hot plate. And John and Tom both took one of the kids, and they got the, whatever it was, chicken breast each and their plate of meal. And then as they realised that the other 4 weren't going to get them, and the kids had a kid meal, and there's like 6 of the meals still there, they kind of just meandered and worked their way through it. So before the game started, the whole 8 meals had gone, which is some serious challenge. So I reckon they definitely both stole 5 chocolate digestives in one go. Yeah, it's interesting that, and I think again, it's investment comes to audience. So if you're looking at investing into something and creating something, you've got to look at its potential sales on the other side as to what you can invest into it. And unfortunately, the problem with rugby league is we don't have a big enough audience, and the numbers are nothing like as significant. Obviously, if you bring out a FIFA football game, you're selling it worldwide, and it's significant numbers. So your feedback on the investment comes from those sales. So you can put in millions or billions into the software and all the programming and design and everything that's done. It's incredible. It's like watching. I see my lad when he plays it, Rocket, and it's like I actually thought at one time he was watching football and he was playing it on his computer. That's how good that's got. So clearly the audience isn't there for rugby league to warrant anybody investing to those levels. I did see the game. I think you're referring to. I couldn't even play it. It was rubbish. My lad occasionally plays it, but yeah, it's probably a bit outdated, and it would be good. I think IMG being a digital arm, that's probably one of the things they could look to do and help. And if they could make it creative and innovative, it could actually catch some new audiences. If it became a game that people enjoyed, they might then start watching it as well. I think that's a great idea. There's no reason why we couldn't do that. We do incur a cost to operating litre per hour. And yeah, that could be met, and you know, player requests can come through the club and wherever we can. Obviously, we've got 5,000 members, and one thing that's guaranteed is everyone will have a birthday every year, so it wouldn't be possible to manage everything like that. But certainly, those who make requests, we'd always do our best, and we do a lot of video messages and things wherever and whenever we can. But personal appearances, yeah, inquire, and where we can help out, we will. But I certainly think that's a good idea with Leto. And again, you know, if you go to a kid's party who's a fan, and they've got 20 other kids there that might not be, and they meet Leto, they might generate an interest and raise more fans. So yeah, it's a good point, that one. I'm not sure what kind of traction you would get in a stadium with someone trying to speak, because obviously a lot of people are busy doing their own thing, chatting about what they think is going to go on the game, looking on the phones, having a beer, being a bit rowdy, trying to have an atmosphere. So I'm not sure you'd get the right kind of audience, or how many people would be keen to actually speak on that platform. That's just me saying it personally. I think certainly in the corporate areas we do that, and we could perhaps look, and we are looking, in fact, from the meeting we've just all been in, about having some more events throughout the year for fan engagement, so that would probably get more traction where people are specifically coming to listen about that. Thanks to everyone who sent in any questions, some interesting ones in there, a bit of fun as well. Make sure you get your questions in for next week. I'm sure there'll be a few people with one or two based on what went on at the weekend, so look forward to hearing them. Cheers.